Thank you very much. Apologies for that, guys. So yeah, so we're investing anything from 200 to $1 million into the companies that basically have global ambitions, have relevance to Ukraine, and have proven their concept with clients, and hopefully also have sustainable revenues of at least $30,000 to $50,000 per month. So this is where we stand. We see a lot of projects originating in Ukraine, and we see that people can find a lot of capital, sort of small capital at the pre-seed or even seed level, and then they would have to go directly and face international investors that basically would need the companies to develop and be much bigger scale than they usually are. And there are some basic things that we noticed along the way investing, that despite the fact that Ukraine and Kyiv and Ukraine generally has a lot of talent, it's about 100,000 of engineers graduating every year. We see maybe it's a deficiencies of post-Soviet education system, maybe it is cultural preset or something else, but we just see that there are skills that are in abundance in Ukraine, but some of the skills are really in deficit. And what I mean here is that some of the basic stuff that might appear to be basic to people that graduate from Western universities, sometimes for people that are running and establishing their own business, originating from countries like Ukraine, are really something that they have to learn as they go. So that's why I have developed this little presentation for people that might be inspired to set up their own business, to basically implement their dream into the project or the startup, and basically have these 5 basic things on the list that many people going already into the business we see are missing at least a few of them. So I'm gonna switch to my short presentation. I'm happy to go through the presentation and then jump on the Q&A if you guys would have some questions. I'm gonna be trying to even answer them. So please send me a smiley or a plus if you can see my presentation. Okay, I see things blinking. That must be positive. Okay. I'm gonna move this. So 5 things that investors want from a startup are usually related to team, product, market, business, and potential for exit. This seems to be very basic, but I want to keep it a little bit more entertaining and basically bring examples from real world experience to basically tell you why these things and what exactly is meant by these words. So I'm gonna go one by one. So if I need to move this, so team. Basically, team is usually a combination of people that are very different, and every team, the way we see that, we're looking that there are at least 3 types of people. One type would be a visionary who would have this strategic idea, dream, inspiration, and the visionary would be in the position to share his dream, to inspire other people, to lead by example. But visioneer is usually not somebody that could do something and execute on his own. That's why the visioneer usually requires some doers. And doers are those people that are also high quality people. This is execution team, those niche professionals. Each one knows what and is best at what he's doing, even if it's a narrow task. But doers usually and rarely actually understand what exactly the visioneer is saying, because his thinking is too broad and too global in a sense to basically get the execution team connecting. That's why in every organization or startup, we're looking for somebody who is a manager. And manager is somebody that actually sort of a bridge, sort of a translator, sort of the person that that could basically listen to what the visionary has to say, and then bring the visionary from one side back to reality, saying that, look, I mean, anything that we do should still be subdued to the laws of physics, to the laws of any other laws that exist and we all live by, and some things are possible and some things are not possible. So he would cut the sharp ends of the visionary and basically then be able to translate into tasks anything that this strategic view. So if the team is missing one of those elements, the likelihood of a visionary and a doer understanding each other in the long term is slim. So that's why three types of people that actually we're looking at. And the mistake that startups usually have at the beginning is that there's an idea, and then they actually jump into executing the tasks without building a proper infrastructure of communication, and then basically the infrastructure that would later lead to corporate governance and basically overall governance and management of the firm. And this is something that seems to be simple, but it's not, because it involves a lot human psychology, and it involves a lot human compatibility and all those sorts of things. So managing and keeping the team together is a hard task, because I like the saying, I'm not sure if it's translated properly in English, but something like you start with an inspiration, but then quickly move to a discipline. So this is about every startup. So you start with a visionary, and very soon you move to be a disciplined executor. So the next thing, if I can move this, is a product. So when a team gets together and they're thinking, okay, we're all great, we're the smartest people on the planet, so now we have to think what we do, and basically people try to understand what they can do, and try to basically see what they have been doing and enjoying so far, and then they tend to find a problem, which problem actually this joyful endeavor is solving. But my experience tells me it's a bit of a wrong foot to start with, because you basically first need to identify the problem that exists already, and you need to identify how efficiently people are solving this problem, and then you basically jump, you find the inefficiencies, and you jump, solving or offering the market a better efficiency. And then the solution of the product that we're looking for should, in any case, be simple and joyful if we talk about retail, and it needs to be because there are two types of businesses. It's B2C, it's business to customer, or B2B, business to business. So if we talk about B2C solutions, they should be simple and joyful. Unless you enjoy doing something, people usually don't do that anymore. Especially the younger generation, that unless you get joy one way or another out of 30 seconds, first 30 seconds of usage, you basically give up and forget it ever existed. In terms of B2B, it's a longer sales process, and it doesn't have to necessarily be joyful, but it has to be simple and applicable enough to basically make sure it works. Okay, and then if we talk about the technology, the underlying technology for the product should be actually, on a contrast with solution, should be very hard and should be difficult to copy. Would be from a time perspective, would be hard to catch in terms of development of the technology. And this is called defensibility of the product. So unless the product is at the same time great, joyful, and simple, and at the same time hard to copy, or would require, you know, years to develop it alternatively, you know, it is difficult for investor to make a decision that the product is a right fit. So moving forward, the market. We'll heard about the notion of the colors of the oceans, you know, the blue ocean and the red ocean. So blue ocean market is where the market is not that busy at the moment. There is less competition, and there are new market opportunities. For example, post-COVID environment, despite the fact that it has disrupted some of the businesses, has created new opportunities for other businesses that just don't find enough competition, and some of the ask from the market is not even fully satisfied. So we see a lot of businesses moving and changing their direction, and some of them are pivoting to satisfy the new requirements for the market. And then every ocean basically becomes red at some point of time. And it's a matter of being either having a first mover advantage, being the first one to do it, or being defensible enough that the other people would find it very difficult to copy. And then from a market perspective, it's always good to keep in mind where exactly you are, the place. Because if we're building the business, not just a project for entertainment, then on every end of the business, you know, on the entry, on one side, on the entry side, there are suppliers, and then on the exit side, there are customers. So there is always a fine need where both the suppliers and customers are trying to bite as much as they can, like in any predator world, from your margin. You need to keep understanding that unless you are able to keep the margin, you will not survive. So it is very important to fight both ends, both on the supplier and customer, to make sure that the margin that you preserve for the business allows the business to exist and develop. And then the market, what I call a disruption. It is very difficult to basically predict the market, and now in a post-COVID environment, we all understand what that means much better than before, because in many cases, you know, nobody could predict such a black swan of the world that would change not only the logistics, but generally the habits of the people, and we all are finding ourselves changing our habits and adjusting to them. So in a way, predicting how the market will behave is almost like predicting unpredictable with undefinable probability, and then if it doesn't really fit, then you basically adjust. And then obviously one of the theses that I have been saying in regard to the market is that every startup should basically start thinking of themselves as a business rather than just a project, because it is only the business that investors will be investing in. If it's just a project and it's entertaining, but it doesn't have any go-to-market or addressable customers or understanding how exactly the monetization will be happening, this is not a business. And if it's not a business, then investor is not the right fit. Then you basically either continue bootstrapping for as long as you can. This means that you would be financing it from your own money. Any ideas that come, that you come inspired, or you basically go and find some NGOs to finance any projects that might have an impact or any other effect, but not a capitalistic kind of monetization approach. So obviously what I'm saying is that there is a big difference between being just inventors and inventors who actually build the real business, and then the big pain of Ukrainian entrepreneurs is that in many cases we see that people come up with these just great defensible technological deep tech ideas, and then they scrutinize it to the extent that to make it perfect, but then nobody to some extent is thinking how exactly to sell it, and what is a target market, and which of these markets and what would be the right approach to sell. That's why in many situations we see that the background schooling with the emphasis of math and with concepts of marketing, sales, promotion, business approach is always beneficial, because it combines and takes the best of two worlds and two systems of education. And then obviously for business to be a business, revenue should be a routine that fits the business and keeps it growing. And the last thing, this is number 5 already, is that every investor is actually before investing is looking at how exactly he will be exiting from this business, because usually from investor point of view, this is a minority stake, minority investment into a smart team with global ambitions that hopefully will know better how to do things than investor himself. And obviously from that perspective, if you are talking to investor, you as a startup, you would be better off finding common language if you actually start treating investor as your customer and trying to understand what exactly investors' goals and strategy is. Maybe the investor doesn't want to invest in a business that has a hardware element, and you're developing a hardware. Maybe investor is looking for return which you are not even planning to do. So homework before talking to any investor. Maybe investor is regional and it doesn't invest any further than 30 miles around certain location. So obviously, it is always great when people starting the business have an idea how to exit and what is the exit strategy about, because there are just two. Conceptually, there are two exit strategies from any business. One, you basically make it a dividend play and grow to the extent that you can make the company public and list the shares in the stock exchange and make your investment liquid from a financial point of view. And the second one, you basically develop the technology and the company to the extent that you can sell it to a bigger strategic investor. That's it. I mean, there are just two. And obviously, in terms of exit, timing is crucial, and this is something that leads this discussion about timing as to whether we continue growing business and scaling business versus and investing into business, sacrificing on margins, or basically we focus on profitability, depends on a plan that the company or the team has in mind for exit. And obviously, we all understand that the smaller the company is, the bigger pool of investors, and the bigger the company becomes, the smaller is a pool of investors. So it's always a fine balance that requires, usually quite a cumulative effort and decision to understand what is this fine point of timing when the exit is right. So that's it, guys. I mean, these are 5 things that investors want and they're looking for. It's team, product, market, and that the project is actually a business and not just a project, and exit. So on this note, I'm happy to go, into a more kind of lively discussion. If anybody has a question, I would be happy to answer.